Benitoit is a rare blue gemstone. Lionel Dalton neither knew nor cared. What he knew was that he had found a rock. He found a strange rock, the size of his palm with triangular-shaped blue smaller rocks encrusted on it. The larger one was almost 4 centimeters wide. It looked valuable enough. It would do. Later, his cousin looked at the specimen with visible skepticism, with the rock in her hand. "You want me to craft a kris, a travel-size perfume bottle and hairpins with those gems?" "Yes," Ali raised an eyebrow. "Long hairpins," Lionel clarified. "Combat-worthy, gem-set." His father, who had only caught the end of the conversation, looked from the stone to Lionel and back again. Then he frowned. "You know you have ridiculously short hair, right? You couldn't use those if you wanted to." Lionel immediately bristled. "It's not for me, old man. It's a birthday gift." His father considered that. "For who?" "Nathaniel." "It's still 3 months away." "Exactly. Plenty of time." His father let out a low whistle. "Very dedicated brat." Ali looked down at the stone again and smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Don't worry, Leo. I'll make beautiful little babies out of these." She tapped one crystal with a finger. "Your betrothed will be delighted." Lionel had already turned toward the door when he froze. "My what?" His head snapped around. "What betrothed?" "It's a birthday gift, you lunatic." Without looking up, Ali began pulling sketching supplies onto the workbench. "Oh, please." She waved a hand dismissively. "Judging from the pieces you commissioned, it's a gift. It's a betrothal gift." Lionel's eye twitched. "You ordered hairpins. He has fucking long hair, a weapon, a kris, and a perfume bottle. He works around blood, guts, and disease all day." Ali continued as if he hadn't spoken. "Hairpins. His hair is always in the way. A dagger. A kris. A perfume bottle. He deserves nice things." The words escaped before Lionel could stop them. He was on the defensive now. He didn't understand why. Silence followed his last outburst. Ali looked up. His father looked up. Lionel wished he could grab the words out of the air and strangle them. "It stinks wherever he works," he muttered defensively. "He's a healer." Neither of them looked convinced. Ali leaned back in her chair. Lionel scowled harder. Nate's hair was a menace. All Seraphins seemed obsessed with keeping their hair absurdly long, but Nate was particularly bad about it. He wore it loose whenever possible. During training, during patrols, during actual combat. It was ridiculous, it was infuriating, and it was dangerous. More than once, Lionel had watched those pale strands fall across Nate's face and fought the overwhelming urge to push them back himself. Not because the hair hid his pretty face, but because it was impractical. Obviously, Ali's smile widened. "Then there's the gem. What about it? You found it yourself." "So?" "And it's Benitoit." Lionel stared blankly. Ali stared back, slowly, painfully. "His name is Benito." "You're making that up." "I'm not." His father barked out a laugh. "Oh, that's bad." "What the hell, old man?" "It's very bad," Ali added with a hearty laugh of her own. Lionel pointed accusingly at both of them, gritting his teeth. "It's a coincidence." Ali was openly grinning now, a rare gemstone matching his family name. "Coincidence. You searched for it yourself." "Fucking coincidence. You commissioned a weapon, decorative hairpins, and perfume. Practical gifts. You started planning 3 months in advance. He deserves quality craftsmanship." Ali put down her charcoal. "Leo." "No." "Leo." "Fuck no." "Leo." "He is not my betrothed." She folded her arms. "So." Lionel narrowed his eyes. "What?" "He's just a teammate." The answer should have been easy. Nathaniel Benito was his teammate, his friend at best, his healer. The man who patched him back together after every mission. The man Lionel looked for first whenever he entered a room. The man whose shampoo scent he could recognize from 20 paces away. The rebuttal rose to his tongue and died there. For some reason, he couldn't say it. "It's not a fucking betrothal set," Lionel thought stubbornly. He is sure Ali doesn't know what she's yapping about. He did not intend to marry anyone. He did not have anyone in mind at the moment. He just wanted to give a gift. A significant gift. That is what he wanted. Frustration reared up in Lionel's mind, his snarled barely caged behind his teeth. Lionel's jaw tightened. "It's not a betrothal gift." 2 months later, Lionel stared into the carved wooden box and wished very hard that reality would change if he glared at it long enough. It did not. The contents remained exactly the same, 2 matching sword-shaped hairpins, a beautifully crafted kris. blue Benetoit gleaming from each piece, a betrothal set. Lionel dragged a hand down his face. The worst part was that Ali had done too good a job. The hairpins were elegant, without sacrificing function. The kris looked deadly, beautiful, practical, durable. Exactly the sort of thing Nate would love, because Nate appreciated craftsmanship, because Nate appreciated thoughtfulness, because Nate appreciated fuck. Lionel dropped his forehead against the table. He'd even bought shampoo. Not just any shampoo, the expensive one Nate liked, and a bottle of the same perfume Lionel occasionally wore because Nate once said it smelled nice. A sane man would have stopped somewhere before reaching that point. Unfortunately, Lionel was not a sane man. He lifted his head and stared at the gifts again. Would Nate see it? That was the real question. Maybe not. Maybe Nate would only see the more practical side of the gifts. Maybe Seraphins interpreted these things differently. Maybe Nephilims and Seraphins didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things, and the differences extended all the way from their hearts to the battlefield. Lionel especially didn't care for the Seraphins' orders of nobility or their duty to their gods. But Nathan proved it doesn't have to matter on the field. He was a medic and a fighter, never ran from a battle, no matter how poor the odds are. Lionel even thought that he held himself back, but Nate still tries his damn hardest to stay true to himself, and that even Lionel had to respect. Lionel pressed his fingers over his clenched jaw. He continued to stare grimly at the finished items in the box. He had gone and finished the stupid goddamned betrothal set. Dalton? What? He grunted. Scowling, he lifts his head. 3 very familiar pairs of eyes blinked back at him. The box snaps close on the table, but it's too late. The damage was done. Squatting from the doorway like a row of particularly ugly ducks, Benton, Sandiford, and Keeble swiveled their heads from the condemning items in the box and back to him. The 3 men exchanged glances, then looked back at him, then at the box, then back at him. "Oh my gods," Sandiford whispered. Keeble's jaw dropped. Benton clasped both hands over his mouth. Lionel felt dread, pure dread. "You're going to propose?" "No." "To Benito?" "No. On his birthday." "I said no." Benton looked close to tears, like Lionel's lapse in judgment was something to be happy about. "That's the most romantic thing I've ever heard." Lionel gripped the table and nearly flipped it. "No one is fucking proposing to no one." Sudden dread strangled him mid-word. "Hold on." His voice strained. He heavily leaned onto the wooden table before him. It creaked again, loudly. "Why the fuck do you all think it's Nate?" Matching grins spread across each of his teammates' faces. Lionel's eye twitched. "What does that mean?" "It means," Sandiford said carefully, "that you've been courting him so long, you don't even know you're doing it anymore." The room went silent. "No." "Yes." "Fuck no." Lionel picked up a boot and threw it. "Dalton," Lionel pointed threateningly. "Don't." Sandiford ignored him. "You found gemstones for him." "A rock. You commissioned custom weapons." He needed one. "You bought hair accessories." He needed those too. "You memorized his preferred shampoo." The room fell silent again. Lionel's stomach dropped, slowly, terribly, because that one was harder to explain. Keeble grinned. "Oh, that's my favorite one." Lionel immediately lunged. Keeble yelped. The room exploded into chaos. A second later, Lionel had him trapped in a headlock. "Take it back." "I'm right, though," Keeble said, his face reddening from Lionel's headlock. "Take it back. Don't be shy," he wheezed. "Keeble." "I swear to gods." Benton tried to pull Lionel away and failed, still smiling. "It's fine, man. Nothing wrong with knowing his shampoo." Sandiford leaned against a nearby wall, laughing so hard he could barely breathe. "Dalton," he wheezed. "Shut up. All of you. Hearing this shit from one nosy, delusional lunatic blacksmith cousin is one thing. Hearing it from these 3 idiots, his fucking sworn shield brothers who knew him best, was... No, he just refused that reality." He refused. Then Benton quietly said, "For what it's worth, I think he will really like the gift and say yes." Lionel stared at Benton. "Dalton, you're just so murderous when you're being shy," Sandiford said. "The absolute fucker." Dodging Lionel's kick, he added, "You know, like a feral tomcat. You got to play along." He cleared his throat. "Yes. Of course, it's only a birthday gift. Everyone gifts their friend a... Gah! Benton, get him off me." Lionel took one look at the people lining up in front of the powerhouse of the city, all waiting to kiss ass and offer their presents, and then at Benton, Sandiford, and Keeble, giving him not-so-discreet, encouraging grins and waggling eyebrows. He should have gone empty-handed. He turned abruptly towards the garden, where a cold wind was blowing the early flowers of spring. He dropped on a bench near a fountain. The centerpiece is a woman coming out of a seashell. He had absolutely had no clue who she was supposed to be, but it felt like she was judging him for being so slow with his feelings. He sighed. For the last weeks, more and more people assumed he was going to propose to Nate, including the random clerk at the city hall where he had to register the weapons. What the fuck? He didn't know how long he stayed there, but just as he decided to head back inside, footsteps approached him, the gait steady but careful. The scent of camellia flowers drifted to him, Nate's shampoo. "There you are," Nate said. There was calm in his voice, even though he's been managing annoying people for the last hours. Without pausing, Nate sat down next to him. Their knees brushed together. Heat pulses across Lionel's skin, burning hot where he can feel Nate's gaze flickering over him. He always did this, the easy contact, and although Lionel was a no-touchy kind of guy, Nate's proximity never bothered him. Lionel gets the feeling that Nate came looking for him as soon as he could. The thought of Nate searching for him even while standing in a sea of people made his chest warm. There was a nameless want under his skin that awakened only around Nate, and lately the edges of that nameless want were starting to burn him. His fingers twitched. Lionel curled them tighter. Maybe some part of him knew what it was, and that's why he sat out here like a damn coward, waiting to be found instead of seeking to find. "Thank you for coming." "I'm glad you're here," Nate says, quiet and sincere. He sounded like he means it. Like Lionel being here is enough for him, like all he wanted was Lionel. Meanwhile, Lionel was at his wit's end over this clusterfuck of a birthday gift when all he had to do was he should have gone empty-handed. The thought had occurred to him at least 6 times since arriving, 7 if he counted the weapons registration clerk, 8 if he counted his father, 9 if he counted Ali. At some point, a pattern should have emerged. It had not. He picked up the wrapped wooden case at his side and dropped it roughly into Nate's lap. "Here." Nate startled. "You didn't have to give me a gift," he said, hands grabbing the box before it slipped off his lap. His eyes flicked from the gift and back to Lionel. "You complaining?" "I wanted to," Lionel retorted. His boots scraped across the stone floor. "He should fuck off now. Leave." He gave the gift. He did what he came to do, but he never runs, and he wasn't about to start now. He braced his feet on the floor and jammed his hands in his pockets. "Gift's yours. Do what you want with it." Eyes wide and wondering, Nate smoothed his hand over the red ribbon on the box before he unwrapped it slowly and carefully. The carved, dark wooden case gleamed in the sunlight. Nate found the latch and opened the box. He completely stilled. Lionel could hear his sharp intake of breath. Heart pounding, he watched out of the corner of his eyes as Nate ran his fingers reverently over the pommel of the kris and then over the tips of the hairpins. He kept looking each item in turn. Nate touched the shampoo bottle, then the perfume, then the kris, then the hairpins again. His expression softened further each time. Not because of the value, because every single item had been chosen for him. Lionel started relaxing. It was fine. Nate was appreciating the craftsmanship. He wouldn't see any other picture underneath it. "Do you want to marry me?" Nate asked breathlessly, looking up. Fuck was all Lionel thought. Nate's eyes were wide with awe and surprise but earnest. Lionel was at a loss to what to say. He blurted, "Don't we have to court before marriage?" Because yes, that was exactly the problem, wasn't it? He was trying to get back on track with the gift and the whole situation. Apparently that was the logical step forward. Why did that came out of his mouth again? "Oh," Nate said. His gaze dropped and his brow furrowed. "It's benitoite," he murmured, taking the kris in hand. "It's the biggest one I have ever seen. Where did you find it?" "On our way from High March last autumn, we passed some mines. I just figured I would find some interesting rocks." Nate laughed, a bright, rare sound. It took Lionel's breath away. "Interesting rocks indeed," giggled Nate. "And jewels." "Yeah," Lionel said, and then he understood. Because in the end, it's not the accidental proposal that damned him. It's the fucking reason why he chose these gifts in the first place. Nate gives him another searching look, but he didn't not ask the question Lionel can see brimming in his eyes. Instead, he took the hairpins from the box and handed them to Lionel. "Can you put these on for me?" he asked, voice steady as ever. His thigh shifted against Lionel's leg though, giving him away. Lionel's gaze slid from Nate's hair to the hairpins. Slowly, he drew his hands out of his pockets. He felt unarmed all of a sudden, and it had nothing to do with the missing weight of his sword. He picked up the hairpins. The first sun is starting to set across the garden, casting an eerie blue glow around them. Lionel leaned in, closing the distance between them, catching the sudden strengthening of a scent of camellias. He paused, wetting his lip. All of them or just half? Nate hesitated for a heartbeat. Only half up, I know you still like them loose, he said. Warmth blazed in Lionel's chest, and something just as fierce curved his lips up. Lionel gathered the silver strands carefully. He had imagined doing this before. Not consciously, he realized. Not in words, but enough times that his hands seemed to know what to do. He gathered Nate's hair back from his forehead, tucking them behind his ear and up. He formed a loose bun with them and slid one hairpin in place, and then crossed in the second. As Nate turned around, he could see the gems at the tips shining brighter than the setting sun. You're fucking beautiful. The words slipped out of his mouth without thinking, but Lionel wouldn't take them back even if he could. Rosy reds bloomed across pale cheeks. Nate stared at him, and those blue eyes went wide with disbelief. For a heartbeat, he looked almost wounded, like he had wanted to hear those words for a very long time. He didn't think Lionel would ever say something like that. The urge to touch and hold burned in Lionel's fingertips, a desire long present but only now acknowledged for what it was, devotion and possession. He wanted to kiss him, badly. You live your life with absolute integrity and kindness. Not everyone can fucking do that, he said roughly. Nate gazed back at him now, wordless and breathless. His heart was soaring. He said that. He finally saw him. He trembled slightly. Earlier. You said, he said and stopped. His eyes roved across Lionel's face, looking for an answer that Lionel all but gave him already. Courting, Nate blurted out. There was a wordless desperation scrunching his brow now. He reached out and tugged at Lionel's sleeve. Can we? Gods, he was too damn cute for his own good, thought Lionel. I should be the one asking, Nate, Lionel said helplessly. Is there even a point in discussing right now, he thought. He's fucked. His weakness was right in front of him, and not as innocent as he tried to appear. Then ask, Nate insisted, tipping his head up and eyes flashing in determination, like he would challenge Lionel to a fight if he had to. Sometimes Lionel forgot that Nate's hands knew how to kill as well as heal. A fierce thrill sparked wildly inside him. There was no turning back now, but he liked his odds. Feeling reckless, he cocked his head, hiding his growing grin. Or what, huh? Nate jerked, taken off guard. Or I'll be... He caught Lionel's expression. Realization crossed his face, his cheeks turning another pretty shade of pink. Or I'll be sad, he blurted out. Lionel's grin widened. And I'll go inside where everyone is and mope. On my birthday. Lionel blinked. His eyebrows climbed up to his forehead. You bastard, he said, both impressed and appalled. He'd be lucky to get out of the fucking castle in one piece if everyone thought he made Nate cry. The corner of Nate's lips twitched up. Another wide grin pulled at the corners of Lionel's own lips. He snorted and Nate huffed a laugh. Amused, Lionel drawled, Guess I better do it properly then if I want to keep my head. He stood up and turned back toward Nate sitting on the bench. Dalton, what are you... He dropped down on a knee and crossed a hand over his heart, reaching for Nate with the other. He also had gone and studied Seraphine's custom for proposals on his spare time. Nate's eyes widened in recognition. Slowly he extended his hand, the barest of a tremble in his fingertips. Lionel clasped it gently. Locking their gazes together, he brushed his lips across the back of it. Will you let me court you, Nathan Benito? Yes, Nate breathed out. Yes, Lionel Dalton. His fingers slid into Lionel's hair, tugging him up. Lionel rose, following the light reflected by Nate's eyes. Warm, Lionel thought as their lips met. Nate runs so fucking warm. A soft, needy sound slipped from Nate and pure want set Lionel ablaze. His arms wrapped around Nate and he held him closer, deepening the kiss. Happy birthday, idiot, he murmured when they finally part for breath. Not looking away, he reaches up, fingers playing with the hair that had already escaped the hairpins.